I don't think there's ever been another man inside that octagon that's embodied the definition of the highest highs and the lowest lows.
Cut man.
And I think that might be it. He's pulling on the wrist of Don Fry. He wouldn't do that if it was still the fight was still going to go.
I think it's going to be over. He's bringing Fry
That's
out.
it.
Yep.
That's going to be it.
We've got a new champion.
Mark Coleman in his first UFC will be a winner.
Mark Coleman wins UFC 10 in Birmingham, Alabama.
And a legend was born.
He is the former UFC Heavyweight Champion, presenting the UFC Hall of Fame Octagon Warrior, Mark the Hammer
But Coleman, it is an absolute honor to have you on the podcast, fella. It really means a lot to us. Tonight, I'm joined by my co-host Luke Cummo. He was also a UFC veteran. He was in the second season of The Ultimate Fighter. So
I know Luke.
Yep. Well, we're gonna.
Mr. Coleman.
I can't remember what you did and everything, but you must have did something. You must have did something because your name is. I remember it.
I wanted to ask you one question, if it's okay.
Well, hopefully you got more than one.
If I was to be your student, what would I call you?
Oh man, people call me whatever they wanted. I didn't care at all. I'm not high maintenance. Unless they call me Queen. Now if they call me Queen, we got a problem.
We got an issue.
Don't call me late at night.
Well, I got called back in college at Ohio State when I wrestled and I was a coach. They all call me King. I like that one.
King Coleman?
Yeah, that'd be a lot better. King Coleman.
Just King, maybe. When I walked in, when I became coach and walked in, they all. Well, I had my followers. You were either a disciple. You were either a disciple of Coleman, or you're a disciple of the head coach and the other coach. But yeah, we would have whooped that team's ass in a street fight.
Oh yeah, like King Kong Coleman, mate.
We sat in the back. We sat in the back of the bus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, they call me King, and I like that. But
I always used to clap when my coach Matt. Me and Matt, like, we actually hung out after class and stuff, so I called him Matt. But when he walked in, everybody always clapped. Like, it was a round of applause.
Who?
My coach Matt Serra.
Oh man, I love that guy. I would clap if I saw him too, man.
I think in another lifetime, Mark, I would be your student for sure.
What'd you say?
I said in another lifetime, I would be honored to have been your student.
Hell yeah, I'm the best. I consider myself top 5 best coaches ever.
That's awesome.
I believe it.
Did Matt Serra ever beat anybody any good?
Oh yeah.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those.
Speaking of being the best, I wanted to share something. I was gonna save it. Me and James and I were so huge fans, and let's see if I could just quickly share this. I don't want to take up, your interview, James.
No, you're all right. Oh.
Hey, we got all night.
Legend. Legend.
I don't know if it didn't go through. Okay, so
Oh,
don't wait on me on that. I'll get when you guys get into it. I'll pull it up for later. But just to reiterate what James said, such an honor, and I'm a lifelong martial artist. My wrestling was very poor because of that. Because I was
no.
a martial artist and not a wrestler.
You can't be on Hammer House. Can't wrestle, can't fight, bro.
Right?
Now, what
quickly
you
gonna
say about
change that.
You really are the best, and thanks for giving us your time.
I cut you off, but tell me what you were saying before I cut you off about before.
Oh well, I did have you said I only have one. I could have more than one question. The other one was a kind of a
No.
question.
You were talking about wrestling. You were talking about wrestling. I cut you off. What'd you say about your wrestling?
My wrestling. I would say if I came into your gym and I said I want to be like your student Matt Brown.
Yeah.
You when he worked with you, he took his game to the heights. Woo! Just something to watch.
Well, yeah. Hey, I love coaching almost as much as I mean, because these guys, I become obsessed. You know what I mean? Because hey, Matt Brown knew what it takes, and he's one of the only guys in Ohio that did. I work with other guys and try to show them it's hard. If they don't have it, they don't have it. But Matt Brown, no, man, that brother knew. Yeah, I met him way back when he first started. Unfortunately, check it out. I went to his first fight ever. I didn't know who he was or anything. I wasn't there for his fight. But anyways, he says he came up to me and introduced himself, and I'm not sure exactly how it went, but sounded like something I would do. But right away, I just preached wrestling to him. Got to wrestle. You got to learn wrestling. He's a Muay Thai guy. Come on, bro. You can't wrestle. That shit ain't going to work. But, man, I don't know if I got through to him, but a couple guys, he ended up going to Ohio State, and they were letting him in Ohio State wrestling practice room. And for like 3 years, my brother learned how to wrestle pretty damn good.
And forget 6 years in Dagestan, 6 years at the Hammer House.
In the Hammer House.
Oh,
USA.
Well, I don't know. I hope I'm as intense. But I think if I watch them guys, I might realize I'm too easy on my guys. But I don't know. I doubt that. But
yeah, I doubt that.
No, anyways, Matt Brown, we never connected. He went as he was with Dorian Price, but Dorian Price, his coach, great Muay Thai guy, his coach, and me met many times, and he was enamored with wrestling. He knew wrestling, so me and him clicked big time, and then we teamed up with Matt Brown towards the end of his career, and my buddy Adam DeSalvado, who is one of the best wrestling technician coaches there are. We're hands-on for that guy every camp, and he never complained, even with all those injuries he had. I felt bad at times, man, but he would shake me off, Jesus. But that guy's a true legend, and yeah, it was an honor working with him. And when he was on, he's as tough as anybody out there by far.
Hammer House is legendary. He's going down as a Hammer House fighter.
He's not Hammer House. He's just he was part of it. He's Matt Brown the Immortal in his gym and all that. But I went to his gym, brought some Hammer House to him.
To me, it's a philosophy, and that's what I was going to show you guys. I'll still try and pull it up. But one of the reasons why I like your wrestling is because you're so good at ground and pound. And for somebody with Muay Thai, like I was saying with Matt, and I have also decent striking, it's like you get to do that. You get to do the striking, but on the ground.
Yeah, that's what people
your
don't
striking's
understand.
good.
That's what people don't understand. My striking on the ground was as good or as better than anybody because it was strategy. Everybody thought it was just wild chaos. Hell no. Every shot I threw was with a thought before it. I mean,
the
I went to
Godfather
the
of
body,
Ground&Pound.
and I went to the body hard. People go to the
Yeah.
body now and they just tap it. No, man, there's a reason you're hitting that body. You got to hurt them down there. I like turning people's ribs purple. And over in the Grand Prix, example is go watch me fight Akira Soji and Igor Vovchanchyn, both in the Grand Prix. Both them boys' ribs left there that night with a big purple bullseye on it. You know, Soji went to the hospital, and hey, Igor's head went to the hospital though, but them body shots, they didn't really hurt him, but they scored points. That's the toughest man ever. He took 16 knees. I was getting scared, man, because my knee was hurting.
Oh my God.
Luckily, I switched legs, and he wasn't quite ready for it. After 14 knees, after 12 knees, I switched legs, and when I brought it in at a different angle, they all four landed right on the temple or whatever, and he wasn't knocked out, which is amazing. He finally said, "What the hell?" And he started tapping, man.
Lucky you got two knees. He's only got one head.
Well, he had them hands up there blocking the whole time. So of the 16, well, I'd say 8 of them landed right on his arms, but that still rattled his brain, man. He was never the same. We're great friends now. I love him to death, man. You know, he's a great man, and he fucking wasn't knocked out. I can't believe it.
Yeah, he was an absolute savage back then. One of the best in the world.
His hands, my hands were like a little bigger, but his were twice as thick, man. His hands were so damn thick. He hits you, boy, you're in trouble. Yeah.
I always bring every time I get a UFC guest on, I always bring up that 2000 Grand Prix. The emotions that you have when you stand up, like that really tug on the heartstrings. Like I was so pumped for you when that happened, because just the ride of your career, that you've had the highest highs and the lowest lows, and when you pulled out that Grand Prix, like that was massive.
Well, I came on to the UFC. I had 35 days training. I walked off the Olympic trials wrestling mat. A guy grabbed me, took me into a room. He said, I got a slot in UFC 10 in 35 days. And I stopped him right there. I said, that's my freaking slot. That's my slot, brother. I said, who the hell you looking at besides me? And he said, Mark Kerr and Tom Erickson, a big heavyweight back then, who ended up fighting as well. He did very well. Yeah. People were scared of him. I looked him in the eye, and I said, I will fucking use my language. I will fucking kill both them, mother whatever. I said, I'll kill them, both of them. I said, who else? I said, Don Fry. He just won that last 8-man tournament. Don, the champion Fry, love him to death, but I said, I will play with that guy. I'll ragdoll him so easy. And he just looked at me, and I said, let me see. He had this big, thick contract, about 50 pages contract. I said, give me that contract. I said, I'll sign it right now. And he said, well, you need to take it home, let your attorneys look at it. I said, no, I don't. I said, I bet Mark Kerr and Tom Erickson do. Let's go. We got 35 days, dude. I got a lot of catching up to do, because I'm not going to lie. I was in a 4-year funk. After the 92 Olympics, I took 7th. I was very disappointed. And I was a selfish, greedy punk back then. And I took some time off the mat. Well, to make a long story short, I took 4 years off, man. But I never missed the weight room workout. So for once, I was finally able to gain some size, because I wrestled 220. I should have been a 198 pounder, but I didn't think I could beat that guy. So I moved up to 220, but I only weighed like 218, 219. You know, I was eating all the time. I was like a heavyweight. But then staying off the mat, oh man, I started putting on some real size. I got up to about 230. And that's it. I could barely get to 230 after, 2, 3, 4 years. But I was drinking and partying and trying every drug I could because I did. My addiction kicked in. And I wrestled Kurt Angle in 95. I hadn't wrestled in 3 years. Team Foxcatcher told me they're sending me $1,000 a month. They told me I got to wrestle. Oh, fuck, I don't want to wrestle, you know what I mean? So I flew out to Arizona to Sunkist Open and hadn't wrestled in 3 years. And there's Kurt Angle, my rival. There he is. And he was my partner preparing for 92, but he was younger, you know what I mean? So I was throwing him around. And then when I left, Mark Kerr took over the weight class. When I left 93, 94 was Mark Kerr. Well, Kurt Angle was chasing him down in 95. And then I show up at this tournament. He wasn't excited to see me because I was huge. But I was out of shape, man. I was so out of shape. And this truly is, to me, one of the most amazing feats ever. 3 years and not one practice. Kurt Angle been busting his ass for 3 years. And we shook hands. And, well, I'm not going to say I whooped him. I beat him 2-0. I beat him 2-0. I stalled my ass off, but I got away with it because you can. You know what I mean? And he couldn't score. So I kind of physically crunched him. And anyways, so we both go back home. In 6 months, we got the world trials. And, well, I didn't train once. I showed up there because I had to. It's disgusting. It makes me sick to think about it. I'm in the super prime of my life, and I'm wasting them. Totally wasting them. I can't believe I did this, but I did. But anyways, 6 months later, Kurt Angle, who never weighed more than 215 pounds, he was a light 220-pounder as well, man. Me and him were eating together all the time. Well, all of a sudden, he showed up at the trials 6 months later, weighing about 225, 230 pounds, man. He was cutting weight. Huge.
Jeez.
And, well, needless to say, well, he must have ate a lot. But anyways, he won the world trials, beat Mark Kerr in the finals, didn't give up a point the whole tournament. And then he went on and win the world championships. But I beat his ass that same year, you know what I mean? But then fast forward to 92, fast forward to 96 trials, a whole year later, I just wasted them. You know what I mean? I didn't train at all, except in the weight room, still partying. Well, I had to go to the trials. Well, I draw Mark Kerr in the first round. Wow. So I beat Mark Kerr's ass 1-0 in the first round. I knocked his dream out, and Kurt Angle was smiling, but of course he's getting scared. But I ended up losing in the semifinals, knocked myself out, and then this guy pulled me in the room and said 35 days UFC 10, and I talked my way in, and I busted my ass. Like, I busted my ass my whole life until 90. After 92, I just fell apart. But now for 35 days, I was scared, man. Fucking scared, because you get tired in that cage. You don't just get taken down. You get beat down, man. So I did everything I could for 35 days. I got myself in decent shape, way good enough for my opponents. And then now I got to fight Modi Hornstein in the first round. Karate guy. Whoa, I've been talking shit about karate. Wrestlers talking shit on karate all our life. Because there's a school in every corner. We knew it was bullshit. But now I'm looking at this dude, Woo! I got a lot to do here. But no, it turned out just like I thought. Once I got him on the ground, he was a fish out of water big time. And then I faced Big Daddy Goodrich, and that was a classic fight. Very easy. I didn't get hit by either guy. 2 fights, I didn't get hit once. And then now I go into the finals against Fry. Holy shit.
Another legend.
I can't believe, about the 8-minute mark, I'm talking to myself saying, what did I get myself into? Because I'm beating this guy. My hands are throbbing. Thank God my coach, the one good thing this guy did, he turned out to be a pretty fraud. Richard Hamilton turned out to be a big scam artist, but he knew a little bit about fighting and stuff. He knew wrestlers were the shit. But he also, I didn't listen to people very much. I was called uncoachable when I was on the Olympic team. They called me uncoachable. But when Dan Gable talked, I listened. So I picked and choose my coaches wisely. But anyways, Hamilton said, I hit Modi about 6, 8, 10 times. I came back to the locker room and I said, I'm taking these gloves off. They're getting in the way. And he convinced me to leave them on. And if I wouldn't have left them on, it would have been a big problem, because by the end of the Fry fight, both my hands were just throbbing in pain. They weren't hurt enough, and my hands are tough as hell, but they weren't used to this kind of shit. And then and I couldn't believe Fry. I couldn't believe he was, the referee was against me. UFC didn't want me to win. They pulled me off Fry, and I asked him, is the fight over? And he told me to go to my corner. What the fuck, John? What do you mean? Why'd you pull? So they go over there and they clean him. They clean his face up, this and that. They restart us on our feet. What is this shit? But anyways, it didn't matter. He was pretty much dead. I took him back down. Then for 4 more minutes, I headbutted him. I beat him with everything I had, but he refused to quit. And Big John looked in. He said, "You okay, Don?" And I crossed my fingers, saying, "I hope he says no." Hell no. He said, he opened his eyes because they were swollen shut, man. But he opened his eyes. He said, "I'm fine." I couldn't believe it, man. I just couldn't believe it. So then I just had to turn it up. I was going to have to kill him. And I was scared, man, because he would have never quit. And I was too tired to put a knockout punch on, because I'm tired, man. I'm hitting him, but not enough to knock him out. So finally, Big John pulled me off a second time. He still didn't tell me it's over. Sent me to my corner. I wanted to say, "Fuck you, Big John." What do you mean? And he took him to his corner, looked at him, and finally I seen John wave it off. And I still wasn't sure. So it wasn't a celebration, because I had to absorb it that the fucking guy was stopping it, you know what I mean? But anyways, that was probably all the highs I had in wrestling, beating down Fry there. I was exhausted, but I was so damn high. I never felt like that, ever. And I wanted it more. I'm an addict at everything. I wanted that feeling again. So, long story. Sorry if I bored you.
No, it's
amazing
right there. Amazing story.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that I can remember so many details about just about every damn fight. It's like I can remember so many. It blows my mind, because I can't remember what I ate yesterday, or I fast every day. So
Hell yeah.
Today I cheated a little bit, but you got to cheat sometimes. You got to fool the body.
Be a bit of fun in life.
Yeah. I fast six days a week, 24 hours, and I'm hungry all the time, even after I eat. So it just starts over, and I just think about food but I got to earn it. And I love to earn it. And then when you eat, a piece of celery tastes good by the time you eat.
So when you got the win there, how did that feel? Was it like redemption for everything that happened in wrestling?
Yeah, because, you know, I love the spotlight. I live for it. The bigger, the better. And I missed it for 4 years. I can't believe how fast 4 years went. Just completely shit him away. And Mark Coleman I was never really anybody because wrestling never got any attention. But in the wrestling world, I was somebody, and it's gone. I just disappeared. And, you know, I did sneak in 2 pretty good wins, Kurt Angle and Mark Kerr. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I seem to have rose up a lot of times in the big ones. You know what I mean? I just was able to, even though I was scared, anybody says they ain't scared is a liar. I rose up. I found a way to suck it up, even if I was out of shape. You know what I mean? But then, yeah, it was a highlight. The closest thing was when I made the Olympic team. When I made the Olympic team, I never had felt like that. I had a state title, a national title. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, the national title is as big as it gets because I don't think people know how hard that is. You got to go through a 6-month season. You got to protect your body, and you got to keep getting in better shape and trying to maintain your strength while watching everything you eat. And then you got to win 6 matches at the end. That's pretty brutal. That was the highest of highs. And then I made the world team. That was as high as it gets. Took second in the world. That was second. You know what I mean? It was high, but it didn't beat the national title. But then, and then the 4 years off. And now, yeah, like I said, I'm greedy. I like the spotlight. I knew. And I like hitting people, I found out. I loved it. Everything about it was amazing. And
I mean,
yeah,
speaking of like,
I fucking melted. The high lasted for quite some time.
I mean, speaking of like going from the highest highs to the lowest lows, when you fought Maurice Smith, what was your big takeaways from that? Like, what sort of things did you learn and that helped develop your game?
Oh man, it's pretty simple. That's the most humbling experience of my life. Almost to this day, there's a couple other ones that humble me a lot worse. Of course, the addiction did, but in athletics, that was it's the only time in my life, even in wrestling, even in fighting, I respected everybody I ever wrestled and fought until Maurice Smith. I had won 3 straight. My mind was reading the paper and I was being called indestructible. Well, I'll beat him with the minimum amount of training. You know, I never thought this in my life, but you know, what really happened is like 6 weeks before the fight, which I was just going to start my camp, I was only going to be like 6 weeks. That's not enough, but for him, it was plenty. But anyways, Brazil called me up. They flew me over there to do an appearance, and they had an 8-man tournament. I took my boy Randleman, and we flew into there, and man, we were treated like kings. And Randleman won the tournament. I'm the UFC champ. They love me there because I beat Fry, who beat their boy Armin Ted or whatever his name is. So they loved me. And well, guess what? You know, we stayed there for a week. I come home, I got 5 weeks left, but they offer an extra week. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And I didn't train. You know,
You're living it up.
Hey, I was
with them Brazilian chicks.
I was hitting it hard. When I drank, I was a binger. And for me, it was like the next one's going to make me feel just what I want to feel, and the next one never did. And then, but anyways, after 2 weeks, they offered another week, and then another week. So I stayed for 30 days in Brazil. And then they offered another week, but I said, holy shit, I got to defend my belt in 2 weeks. But it didn't scare me. That's the problem. I wasn't scared. I thought it was going to be plenty, even though I didn't train really. I just kind of went through the motions and lifted some weights. And me and Kurt hooked up. I went out there, and he turned out. I went out there to meet up with him because he's in that tournament. And this guy was 255 pounds of gigantousness, man, perfection. And I'm greedy. I'm the big man. So I came home weighing about 235, 240 at the most from Brazil. Because you lose weight when all you do is drink. I mean, I didn't eat, I drank. And I seen Kerr, and then I decided to gain about 15 pounds in the last 2 weeks. And that added to the problem, but still no fear. And nobody knows this, but right before I walked into the fight, the owners come up to me and said, if there's no decision after the first overtime, we're going to add a second overtime. And I looked at him and said, what the fuck? This fight's over in 2 minutes. Who cares? My manager should have said, shut up, Mark. And that's it. That second 3-minute overtime, I have no idea how I'm still alive because I thought my heart was going to explode. My heart was ready to explode after 2 minutes, and now we're at the 17-minute mark, and this son of a bitch, he didn't knock me out. He could have put me out of my misery, but he was too scared to get close. He just beat the hell out of my legs, beat the hell out of my... Oh, my God. I thought I was going to have a heart attack, and at the same time, I couldn't even feel nothing. I mean, I felt the pain, but they were wobbly. And because at the 2-minute mark, I headbutted him. Maurice told me I knocked him out with a headbutt, and then I woke him up with the second one. And I'm like, oh, that would have been nice. But anyways, I made eye contact with him. And about the 2-minute mark, I took my first break because, man, for 2 minutes, I was 100% on the gas pedal, which ain't my style, fellas. I'm a strategic fighter. I was fighting with stupidity. But in hindsight, it was probably my only chance. I probably had to knock him out. So it probably was a good idea, even though I don't like doing that. Because if I would have played it slow, I still would have got tired. It just would have been at the 4-minute mark instead of the 2-minute mark. But anyways, I looked him in the eyes, and he looked right at me. He didn't say a word, but he kind of winked and said, yep, I'm still here, and you're tired, dumbass. Woo! And then, holy shit, I had panic and fear set in immediately. But I didn't stop, obviously. I damn near choked him out a couple times, but wow, man. Honestly, that's another pretty amazing feat by an athlete because, man, I have no clue. Because it took me, so finally, the decision and everything, I just stand there talking to myself saying, you're the dumbest person in the world, man. Why? During the fight, I was sitting there talking to myself, why were you in Brazil, you dumbass? It was a horrible feeling. Yeah, I hooked up with a lot of girls, but so what?
That's kind of what I was thinking. I've seen the women in Brazil. I know why you were over there.
Hell, I blame the whole country of Brazil for my first loss. They set me up. But anyways, no, man, then I walked out of that ring because they knew Maurice Smith hired Frank Shamrock, and that guy's a master. And they knew it's going to be an onslaught, but he's going to get tired. Maurice tried to think he got good enough at wrestling to stop me from taking him down. I'll throw that in there. No, but Hey, his guard work was pretty damn. It was pretty efficient, even though
It was, yeah.
it was, but not the first 2 minutes, man. If I would have trained and just, if I would have had, 30 more seconds,
Full gas tank.
even if I had 30 more seconds, it's over. But I'm not making excuses. I'm just stating facts. He whooped my. It ain't about if you didn't train or not. That's not an excuse. That's your own fucking fault. And guess what? He whooped my ass, and I think to this day, it's still the biggest upset in the freaking history to me.
Oh, it's huge.
Because, but no, I get back to the locker room, and I can't slow my heart rate down. 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes later, I'm still breathing so heavy and so hard. It's because I was angry. I didn't calm down. And I'm in the locker room. Everybody's worried, man. Everybody's really worried that, I'm going to have a heart attack, bro. But the doctor said, we'll take you to the hospital. But I pulled my mask off. I said, I'm fucking fine. I'm just pissed. And then I tried to sit down, and it wasn't happening, man. My legs, oh my God! I didn't in the cage. It hurt, but nothing I couldn't take. But now
you can't.
It felt like that. Never felt anything like that in my life. And holy shit, I couldn't sit down. And, it took me a couple hours just to get back to the hotel. I finally got up to my bed, and I'm going to lay down, and I can't get into bed, but trying. I finally get in that thing. And then the UFC started sending people in, telling me I got to go to the hospital, which is an hour away. And I told the first guy, get out. I'm fine. Ain't nothing wrong with me. There really wasn't a damn thing wrong with me. You're dehydrated. Well, I'm drinking water. That's what you do. But he did kick me
You just want to be left
eye.
alone.
But so finally, the third time they sent somebody up, I forget who it was. I hope it wasn't Big John, because I can't believe I conceded to him. That would make me sick if I did. But the third person, and then I wasn't going to use the elevator because, I can't remember, but I did not want to walk through the lobby. I mean, it was the most humiliating, embarrassing thing at the time of my entire life. Not anymore, but oh my God, it took me an hour and a half to get to the hospital, drive, and then the doctor comes out and he says, well, what's wrong with you? I said, nothing. I looked at him, I'm all beat up. I said, nothing. He's like, well, what are you here for? I go, they made me come. He's like, well, I said, they said I'm dehydrated. He goes, well, I see you're drinking water. I'm like, yes, sir, I am. But then I fucked up because he kicked me right here. He cut me with his toenail, actually. They said it was when I was down, so a down opponent. But really, when the video showed I was coming up, so it was a legal kick. It don't really matter. But he cut me here, just a tiny little cut. But I said, they're worried about this cut here. And that's where I fucked up, because now he said, well, I got to get x-rays. No, it's fine. So I went like this. I pushed my hand on and I said, look. I said, it's fine. He's like, nope. And so it took me another hour getting all that shit done. Back to the hotel, back into the bed finally, and then get up in the morning and do the most humiliating walk of my life onto the bus, out to the airport, and through the airport. Yeah, people noticed me, and it just sucked. It was the most, what did I learn from that fight? Did I tell you enough? I learned quite a bit.
Would you say that's the only opponent that you've gone into that you had no intimidation for? because a lot of the other ones you said like I had a lot of fear, and then with that one you were like, I had no fear.
No,
at all.
that's the only one. I learned that, bro. No way.
Yeah.
I don't care who the hell it was. No, nothing but respect. Yeah. But that wasn't, unfortunately, my whole career. It was rocked with alcoholism, and you could pretty much. It's not an excuse. It's just a fact. And sometimes I just didn't train, man. You know, when I put it together, you can probably see. Go back any fight you want to see. I really should have never lost. I should have never lost. Maybe Fedor, he would have been, but everybody else, I think in shape, I just beat them all. You know.
Well, I mean, the fact that
my opinion.
You still, everything that you still managed to achieve, even with your alcoholism. I mean, you're, you know, royalty as far as UFC goes. You know, like when we're all long gone, you'll still be remembered. You know, like, so even though maybe it didn't go as well as you think that, or how you envision it could have gone, you're still a legend, mate. And you know, we really appreciate you taking the time, Luke and I. You know, we think highly of you.
Yeah, no, I
Can I share some?
People are just so nice to me, and I like giving back. I've grown up. I'm not greedy. I'm still a little greedy, but I'm not selfish. And most importantly, I'm grateful. And now, I can tell people want to meet me, but they're a little intimidated a lot of times. I guess I look scary sometimes, but no, I'll make the approach to them, and hopefully they wouldn't want my autograph, because that'd be pretty embarrassing, or my picture, and then no, usually within I'll let them have their say and tell me how great I am and all that. And they've seen all my fights. Everybody's seen all my fights, but no, you didn't. You know, I mean, sometimes I'll question them when they say that, just to mess with them. But within a couple minutes, you know, I want that person to walk away happy, and I just like to give back, and hopefully they had a good experience. And I do like reading the comments from the fans telling me they met me years ago, and you know how nice I was, because you know I'm not always nice. I had plenty of anger issues and plenty of character defects, but even when I was drunk, I'm very happy to say probably 98% of the time I took time with the fans, and you know, but it just work on being better every day. But it's such a blessing to be able to give back and make somebody. Sometimes they say you made my year, even if I just give back to people on Instagram or anything like that. Wow, I could pick somebody up and motivate them, because I had everything. You know, I had a dream life, but I was not ever happy. You know, so I can imagine. I know that feeling, and now I have everything I need, even though I don't have anything really, but I have everything I need, and that's all I got to do is tell yourself, today was a good day. You're gonna, honestly, I got back from Colombia. I was in Colombia for a week, and it is paradise over there. I was getting stem cells and all that, cell rejuvenation, stem cell international, stem cell international. So I feel amazing from that. But I was over there, and it was just I got to tell myself I got to relax more and take it easier, because I'm out of my mind. I've been on a 3-year. I didn't train one time. After 2010, when I retired, I went so far south immediately, because I was 44 years old, but I'm greedy. I wanted so much more, but my doctor lied to me. told me I had to get a hip replacement. He didn't really lie to me. It was his opinion. You know what I mean? There was no cartilage in there, and the pain was pretty bad for the last 3-4 years. 4 years, just getting worse. So it was over just like that. I took a phone call, and that's it. He told me it's over. And then I went so far south. So for 12 years, I drank, and it got worse and worse as we went. But I didn't work out one time in 12 years. So you can only imagine what the hell I looked like. It was, and I really did care about what I looked like. I was a vain person. I didn't lift weights because it was fun. I did it for what it did for me. But 285 pound, not one muscle on my body, fat, soft. I was exhausted just walking to the car. And then I got sober after 12 years. I checked into rehab. By far, the best decision I've ever made. And it didn't come easy. Thank God. Thank God a good friend of mine, Wes Sims, who fought in the UFC. I took him under my wing when he was 18. Just a nobody. My doctor told me I needed to help this kid. He played basketball, 6'8". Well, what the hell am I gonna do for him? You know what I mean? But when I did talk to him, he told me, because I finally had to fight a guy, Ricardo Mariah, 6'9", over to get into the Grand Prix. I had to throw the fight against Takada. Everybody knows that. It is what it is. I did it. Not proud of it. It was the only option I had at the time. Another option would have been to say no, but then I don't fight in the Grand Prix, so I wasn't man enough. I wasn't man enough to say no. That's for damn sure. And but then
you did what you had to.
They told me do this for Takada, and you're in the Grand Prix. When I got UFC, had just cut me. 3 champions in a row, Maurice Smith, and then I'm training for the rematch. I got my first injury ever. I blow my ACL out, first injury ever. And then I come back in 5 months. And back then that was just stupid. But I was supposed to fight Couture. And luckily he got hurt 2 weeks out. Because I think he would have got me that. Because I wasn't, my leg was still skinny, man. You know what I mean? So he pulled out. And then they went through 6 guys. 6 different opponents in the next 6 days. A person would accept it, and then he would decline it because people were scared. They were scared to fight me. And then finally they settled in on Pete Williams, a young kid from Lions Den.
Yeah.
And, no excuses, man. I couldn't put it together in that amount of time. I just mentally... I was never like this. After the Maurice Smith fight, your first loss, you got to keep it together. That's why people that lose for the first time, many of them never come back. And I see why, because I had to fight the demons. And during that training camp for Pete Williams, some days I'd have good days, and some days I would be completely exhausted doing nothing. I found out later my thyroid wasn't working, so because after the fight was over, I had nothing, like even when it was over, mentally I was down. I just got knocked the fuck out, 2 losses in a row. What's wrong with me? But then finally do a little blood work and get on one little pill, and bam, it's like my engine started back up, and I got a new life because I thought it was over after Pete Williams. I wasn't sure if it was over because I thought maybe I did get old overnight. But then when I found out what it was, new life, and then Pedro Hizzle, I had a pretty good training camp for him. But by that time, my mind I was no longer trying to win. I was trying to not lose. So I would say I whooped his ass. I know I whooped his ass that night. I was on top of him for 13 out of 15 minutes, and 2 minutes on the feet. he hit me a couple times. But no, when the decision came in, what the fuck? What am I going to do now? It's over. But everything happens for a reason. I got cut. Japan picks me up. I do this Takata thing. And then they wanted to see if I had anything. They made me fight this 6'9" Ricardo Moraes, 50-4 out of nowhere. A Hazel Gracie dude. And what the, but anyways, so that's when I met Wes Sims, because I wanted to see what it looked like. And oh my God, Wes showed up. He was 6'6", 7, but I looked him up and down, and he wasn't Ricardo Moraes. He was 215 pounds, skinny little basketball player. But I took him to practice, and I took his ass down, slapped a scarf hold on him. Same thing I put on Severn, and usually I tap people out within seconds. Severn fought it pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, most people tap real quick, but Wes Sims, he didn't tap. He tap. He was 210, but he was a strong farm boy, and I'm trying to take his neck off. And I finally, at about a minute or 2 minutes of doing this, finally I had to let it go and readjust. And then when I re-cranked it, it was over. He tapped in like a second. But all I remember about Wes Sims was the first 3 minutes of him not tapping. Then I beat the hell out of him for the next 40. He had nothing left, but yeah, we became best friends, and thank God, 15 years later, thank God he had the courage to show up at I was staying in an extended stay hotel for over a year, and you don't lose there, but you stay away from people. I can't think of the word, but nobody knew where I was at.
You're isolating yourself.
I isolated myself from everybody, and all of a sudden, a knock on the door, and so he walks in my room, and there hadn't been a maid in there for 6 to 8 months, and I'm not a maid. So my room, the whole room, didn't need any trash cans. My whole room was trash can, and I opened the door. I barely remember it. He walked in. I laid back in the bed. Didn't matter what time it was. By this time, it was 24/7. I just took little breaks here and there. As soon as I would wake up or something for a couple-hour nap, I would need a beer to calm everything down. It was like that. And then I was on Klonopin as well. So 2 very powerful. They're the only 2 drugs out there that can kill you, getting off from cold turkey. I was drinking alcohol, and I didn't think much of the Klonopin, but when I checked into rehab, no, those are the 2 deadliest, pretty much. They're the only ones you can die coming off from cold turkey. But so I laid down in bed, I don't remember, next morning or whatever, 8 hours later, 6 hours later, he showed back up. And I opened the door. I didn't really remember him, but then it came back to me. Oh, fuck, he was here last night. And then I sat down in the bed. And by this time, Weston tried to help me so many times. He was completely...
He was a really good friend, Ned.
He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do at this point. He just looked at me and said, what are you doing? You're trying to kill yourself? And I looked at him and said, no, Wes. No, I don't want to die. I said, I'm going to get over this. I'm going to get through this. I'm waiting for things in my life. It was a ugly, I don't want to blame it on this, but, God puts people in your life and he takes them away. But my baby's mama, my second baby's mama, It was the ugliest 5-year. I got her pregnant and had a child at the age of 50, and she was not good. Not good for me. And I finally left her. But when I left her, I couldn't see my kid. Happens all the time. But yeah, I think if she wasn't put into my life, I probably would have been a productive drunk the rest of my life. You got to hit rock bottom. And this I let this situation just consume me. And finally, Wes is in there. I'm not trying to die. Wes, hell no. I said, I just got to, and then he laid it on me, man. He said, well, I got a rehab place lined up for you today. And I told him, no way, not today, brother. I'm not, because I was terrified of going cold turkey. I couldn't handle it. I was worried about dying even. And then
I can understand.
I said, no, I'm not ready, Wes. But then I said, you know what? I said, how about you take me to the hospital? Because I knew they would give me drugs, pain meds and shit. I wanted to get off the booze, but I didn't know how. So I went to the hospital. I stayed for a week. It was, they gave me the pain meds. I'm off the booze. They're weaning me off the benzos, and it was brutal. I mean, just painful, man. I didn't really move. About the third day in there, the doctor came in and said, Mark, he says, you got to take a shower. And I was like, I hadn't shaved in months. I had this big, gray, nasty beard. I'm bald, but I got the bozo shit. And I'm 285 pounds. And this guy's telling me I stink, and it was just everything I could do just to go take the shower. And then
sounds like your toughest fight that you ever had was that one right there.
No, nothing compares. Fighting in a way was easy, even the losses. But so after a week, they released me. Wes stayed there the whole week. He kept coming in every day. And after a week, I said, you just can't imagine. After a week, you don't, the fog is the foggy. I'm still clueless. I'm still drunk. And I said, take me to my mom and dad. He said, okay. We went there. And then, he said, it's time to go back to Columbus. I got a place waiting for you. I said, no, not tonight. Not tonight, Wes. I'm going to stay here tonight. And he put his foot down and said, you're going. And he could have easily whooped my ass that day. He's a big monster, and I'm a 10-year drunk. I didn't think he could, but in hindsight, Wes would have fucking whooped my ass. How embarrassing would that have on my record? But no, he insisted. I didn't put up much of a fight. I just said no once, and then he insisted, and I said, okay. And right there, that's when I pretty much surrendered. And when I checked into rehab, I don't remember, but the therapist said 3-hour check-in with him. And then 2 weeks into rehab classes and stuff, he was leading the classes one time and something came up. And he goes, I know, Mark. He goes, I said something that, he said, well, I know that, Mark. I go, oh, how you know? Well, I checked you in. I didn't even know. This guy checked me in for 3 hours. And then this was right where I belonged. All kinds of addicts in there, normal people. And I knew immediately this is what I needed. I accepted it. I knew, and I surrendered, and I put it in God's hands. I've always had God, but I always had doubts. And then this time, I put it in his hands, and he took away my obsession, and now he guides me every day. And that's how I have patience now. I've never had any patience. I was always in a hurry, no patience. It's one of the, hey, not all the time. I still got to work on it. If my daughter was here listening to me, she'd say I'm full of shit, but compared patience and gratitude and letting go, the biggest thing everybody has to do is you got to let go of all your resentments. I learned it in rehab. What the? I'm talking to the therapist. I'm angry about some dude that owes me a couple thousand from 30 years ago. What the hell? You got to clear the trash out and let the happiness and good shit in life in. And really, I'm telling you people, once you learn, I'm making it sound simple. Well, honestly, it's a daily fight. But as long as you're grateful, today again, I had the best day of my life because I choose to be that way. Even though, I got back from Colombia, I had 7 days of peace, and I backed down with my training quite a bit, but I still trained, of course, but just relaxed and got stem cells, exosomes, methylene blue. I feel amazing. But when I got back to America, all of a sudden I have a couple issues going on. And you're going to have problems. Bad things are going to happen, but it's how you deal with it that counts. So I forgot about for him a week, which I should forget about him all the time. You got to deal with them. But once you start letting it consume you and bother you and worry you, it could take you south that fast. And honestly, I got back yesterday and I was fighting anger and resentment. And then all of a sudden, I put my Christian music on, and normally that pulls me right out of it. But it wasn't working, man. It just wasn't working. And I was really letting some things that, I don't like the word worry. You got to be concerned because I have to deal with these things. But once you let it worry you and bring out my character defect of anger and hate, and I say things that not probably, God would not want me to say. It was adding up, but then finally somehow, just out of nowhere, I'm driving, trying to ask God, where'd my peace go? Come on, I'm trying to get it back. I know I have everything I need, and I know I got you, but it just wasn't clicking. And then boom, a song came on, one of my favorite songs, Christian rock. Look at you now. Look at you now, and I was sitting there talking to myself. I wasn't happy with what I seen. But then just like that, I used the skills I learned in rehab to pull it together. And just like that, finally, I started feeling the music and the Holy Spirit. And that's how quick you can really turn it around. And you have to. And I turned it around, and all of a sudden, what was I doing for like 24 hours? You know what I mean? Wasted 24 hours worrying and dying. And now, no, man. I was thinking about canceling with you, but boom, luckily it just clicked back over because I would hate to have canceled on you. And here we are, and I'm as happy as I've ever been in my life. And that's it. It should be like that every day, no matter what happens. You just have to accept it. And like I said, it really is that simple, people. Everything begins with a thought. Everything. You gotta get the bad thoughts and kick them out. It really is that simple. And if you're struggling with addiction there's only one chance, man. I help people all the time, DMs, hundreds of them, and they want to tell me their whole story. I'll read it and listen, but my answer is always the same. That don't matter. None of that matters. You need to check into rehab today. And, well, I'm going to lose everything. No, you're going to lose everything if you don't check in. And whatever you do lose, it was meant to lose. And whoever is there when you get sober, it was meant to be there. And it's just, I'm a black belt in this recovery. I don't beat around the bush. It's pretty damn simple. You follow the 12 steps, and anybody that follows the 12 steps, they succeed. When you don't follow them, you know, it's a daily battle. But here I am. And it's the toughest fight of my life. But man, it is the coolest thing. Sober is the coolest thing ever. I don't make this shit up. I know it. And it's so awesome to be out and about and meet somebody and them tell me. So I'll be talking to a fan, and all of a sudden, couple minutes or so into the conversation, they'll tell me out of nowhere how many years sober they got. Oh, it's just an immediate bond. My brother, because we just have something so in common. And we're all the same. People don't get it. You don't want to get it. Hopefully you don't have it. You don't want to get it. But to meet a brother, shake his hand, and him tell you, we all remember. And I'll never, like I said, Maurice Smith was the most humbling, but no, it was topped the day I checked into rehab. That's the most humbling and coolest thing I've ever did in my life. And now, oh my God, good things have happened to me my whole life. I had a dream life, but all of a sudden it seems like the last almost 5 years. In March will be 5 years, but I just can't imagine how many good things happened. But the truth is, they always happened. I've always been blessed. I just recognize them now, and I'm grateful. And
that's how you frame it.
And I don't look at so-called bad things. I don't look at them as bad things anymore. I just accept them because nothing's going to be easy. But if it was easy, it ain't worth doing. Why would you want to do something that's easy? That's my thought.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I was young, I was a drug addict, and then I was an alcoholic for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. I drank every day. I didn't quite hit the depths that you've spoken about, but it did ruin my life for a long time. The way I sort of got out of it was just I stayed so busy, and I just worked every day that I just didn't have any free time. You know what I mean?
No, that's it.
I didn't have time to fuck up. You know?
You fucking did it without rehab and without help.
Basically, yeah.
Listen, that's one of the most.
I don't think
you're in the like half percentile, quarter percentile, because me checking into rehab, I stayed for 5 months. I checked in. I said, I'll give you a month. And then I stayed for 2 months. I fell in love with the place. And I started becoming a leader again. And when I started leading, they kept me for 5 months because nobody stays for 5 months. I didn't complain. And I think they were kind enough. I didn't even have to pay. They took me in as one of their sponsored people, and they wanted to make sure. And at about the 5 month mark, I finally looked at my 2 therapists, who are still very good friends of mine, and I said, "Ladies, I know you love me, but it's time for me to go, man. I'm ready."
I didn't want to let it get over it.
And they agreed right away. I probably could have said it
Oh, I've lost Coleman.
Okay. His phone might have died.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, how was that, brother? Like, Coleman really opened up, you know, like,
Yeah, bro.
pretty inspirational, man.
Oh my God.
He's still in the lobby. Yeah, I think maybe his phone died.
Oh my God. That happens to my teacher, Dr. Jubb, sometimes because we stay on the phone for a few hours doing his podcast,
Yeah.
preparing and stuff. Sometimes we're like recording and do multiple shows at once. And so he'll be like, we'll do one show and then he'll go put his phone on the charger and then come back and type of thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't know if he's going to come back. I mean, maybe we can get him back on another time. But I really appreciate you joining me for this, Luke.
yeah, this is awesome.
I know.
I wanted to show.
Here we are.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Hey, he's back.
Man, oh man, now
The king.
Yeah, but this is the important part. So you know, I remember being in there for 30 days in the rehab. I still remember the conversation because this girl that was in there with me, she now works for the company, and she looked at me. She said, "How's it going today, Mark?" And I said, It's going too good. I'm just wondering when it's all going to fall apart." And she looked at me and said, "Well, maybe it never will." And I
didn't think of that at that time.
It never has. It hasn't fallen apart. And I'm going back to this rehab center for the first time in 5 years in about a week. And I can't wait to go in there. And you couldn't get me up in front of a crowd ever back during my drinking days. I would have to drink a gallon just to get up and talk or whatever. But now I don't have any fear, man.
Killing it.
I don't have any fear. I fear, and that's saying too much. Of course, I do have fear sometimes, but for the most part, it's gone. And I'm actually like doing a speech or something. It would bother me for like 2 weeks leading up to it. And the day before, the day of, it was just terror and panic. But now I'm truly so excited to walk in there because God just talks for me now, man. I don't preach God, I just preach life. But he brings the words out, and I don't worry if I mess something up. Big deal. Big freaking deal. It doesn't matter. So I'm so excited to go in there, and because I'll see these new people in there, and I'll know exactly what they're going through. And it's the toughest fight of your life. When only 4% of the people make it, it tells you right there how hard it is, because I gave up everything to have one thing. And now I gave up one fucking thing and I have everything. And that's the truth. That's the damn truth. And you can do it too, people, because I know somebody is watching this is drinking a beer right now. shaking their head, wanting to do it. Well, you got to do it. You can't wait. And the only chance you got is checking into rehab, unless you're a superstar like my man right here who did it on his own. But I know you made a lot of changes, though. You got to change. And all the changes are for the better. I was so worried, what am I going to do? What the hell am I going to do in life if I don't drink? There's nothing to do. Well, that's the biggest myth ever, because I do it all, and it's so much funner watching other people be the fool. But I can spot an alcoholic from a mile away, and when they talk to me, and I don't push it or anything, they kind of push it on me, because I'll tell the guy I'm sitting beside drinking at B-Dub's Wings, I'll let him know my story, and they'll guide me, telling me they'd like to quit. Well, that's when I'm going to take over, and I'm real quick and right to the point. Shut up with all your damn excuses, man. I had them all. I'm not checking in, Wes. I'm too busy, people say. Well, Wes said to me, he'd say to me, what the therapist said to me, what the hell? You're busy. You're busy doing nothing for 12 years. And basically, she was right. I did nothing for 12 years. What do I have to do now? Nothing. I got to get sober. And then once you get sober, like you said, I couldn't get busy enough. When they finally let me out, I tried to get busy, but I had nothing. I disappeared for 10 years. I really got nothing going on. I got to reinvent my name and myself. And I couldn't stay busy enough. I struck a deal with Liver King 2 years into my sobriety. I befriended Liver King, and all of a sudden he said, Coleman, transform back into the Hammer, scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours. And I said, because I'm poor at the time, I got nothing. And I didn't say it like this, but I'm like, oh my God, I hope he means he's going to pay me. And he did. And he paid me, and that's it. He was paying me to transform back in and promote his supplements. Well, guess what? I transformed right back into the Hammer that day. And I never, the first day was brutal, but it only was an hour and a half of doing something, but I hadn't done nothing in 12 years. I couldn't believe the soreness from that. Even just an hour walk, you know what I mean? I couldn't believe what that did to me. But I became obsessed with walking. Next thing you know, I'm walking 10, 15 miles a day. But then I just called it advanced walking. I got bored real quick. I started carrying weights with me. I'm walking backwards. I'm walking sideways. I'm walking on my toes, my heels. I just kept adding things. And I started adding yoga and stretching. And next thing you know, I'm up to 10 hours every day, nonstop doing something, 12 hours. 13 hours and 14, 15 hours every day around the clock. It took over. I didn't care about anything else, because as long as I was sore and bringing my body back, I felt like I was accomplishing something. And that's all I needed. And I was back, because the first 2 years of sobriety, it was brutal, because I thought about it a lot. And I said, my life's going to be this hard. No. As soon as I started exercising, it took over. Because why do you exercise so hard, old man? Sit down. Sit down, old man. Look, when I'm exercising, I don't have a worry in the world, man. It's my peace. So one day, I exercised for 19 hours straight. Non-stop, I was doing something. That was brutally cool, man. But then, I was averaging 15 hours, and people will say he's lying. No, I ain't lying. Come find out. Try to follow me. But nothing super high impact. I just kept switching up what I would do. Just keep switching it up, but I always kept moving. I fell in love with yoga, and I do yoga I do yoga a couple hours every day now. So
I mean,
that's my new obsession, and it made sobriety so much easier, and it gets easier and better every day. And you can find out. Give it a try. I promise. If you do it right, you'll love it. You'll love yourself, forgive yourself, and find peace and happiness. Nothing like it.
Mate. That's amazing. You know, I mean, like going from what you were saying, you were on the brink of death. Like if you kept pushing like that, you wouldn't have lasted much longer. So to go from that to like training the way you were training, like that's really inspirational.
No, I mean, the only thing I can think of is because oh God, there's been many close calls. I had a heart attack about 7 years ago, and I had a heart attack at like 7 at night. I didn't know it was a heart attack. Just felt like nothing ever before. I laid down in this hotel from 7 till 1 a.m. I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't figure it out. Something wasn't right. I called my daughters at 1 a.m. They were off at college. I told them what's going on. And my daughter's a nurse, and they just begged me to go to the hospital. And I told them, I'm going tomorrow. I'll go tomorrow. And then finally they insisted. So I said, okay, fuck it. I figured I'd get some pain meds in there. That's my thought process. Oh, I'll go to the hospital. I'll get some pain meds. So I drank a beer on the way to the hospital, smoked a cigarette, walked in there by myself, checked in, and they said, yeah, brother, you got the biggest artery we've ever seen. They said it was this fucking big. They didn't have a stent that big to put in it. It was 100% clogged. And I had a heart attack, all right, but they couldn't. They went in there and they're trying to poke through it. They got to poke a hole through it to get the blood flowing again. And when they were poking, I was awake, so I felt it the whole time. And when they were trying to poke, it was so uncomfortable, and they would stop and then try it again, and they couldn't get through, so they couldn't get through.
They were stinting you while you were awake.
Well, they were trying to poke a hole through in the clot, man. It was just a clogged, 100% clogged. They took something up in there, and they're trying to poke a hole through it. So I was wide awake, listening to them talk and everything, and they just said, I didn't hear what I wanted to hear. Finally, they said, well, we're going to send you back up to your room, and we're going to figure out what we got to do. And they were going to send me home even the next day, or whatever. But then the next morning, they came in and said, things have gotten a lot worse. We're going back down. And if they went back in. If they wouldn't have been able to poke through, they would have had to cut me open and do open heart surgery. But I finally heard the words, man. Just four doctors just watching, because they're all amazed at the size of my artery, and then finally I felt this big relief when they poked through, and I heard them cheer, and I felt the blood flowing, and I couldn't believe it, man. But it's so pathetic. They released me whenever, and I drove home and I smoked a cigarette on the way home, got to the hotel, had a couple beers, and lay there and just continued the journey. And then finally, I don't know why. I'm here because the Lord's got plans for me. I got a lot of work to do for this guy. He's done so much for me. It's time for me to pay him back. And it's that simple. He ain't done using me. So, it really is all, I just speak from the heart. I'm not preaching God, but I don't have a problem preaching God. And if you got a problem with it, find your higher power. It doesn't have to be God. God saved me, but you got to have a higher power, somebody you can talk to guide you. So it doesn't have to be God. My God is God. Everybody needs to find the higher power and surrender. No more denial. Surrender that you're powerless over drugs and alcohol. And that's it. And here I am, baby. And you know, I mean, you're going to think about it, but no way. It's just overwhelming, the vibes that tell me you don't even want that garbage. You know what I mean? You don't want it. And you watch, now I see everybody drinking their life away. And it hurts, man. It hurts to see it.
Well, I mean, you know, you've got a big platform and you've got a lot of people out there that have a lot of love for you, Mark. So, I mean, you're in a great position.
I got back on that. Yeah, back on that. I've always said I got the best fans in the world, and to me, they obviously are. They came to my rescue so many times. When I woke up from that house fire, oh my God, when I woke up from that, and I found out the whole world was praying for me, it just blew my mind. And I love my fans. And it's just that simple. I'm not fake. I would never want to hurt one of my fans.
Yeah, I mean, that was what was very touching. You know, seeing you in the hospital there with your daughters. I mean,
you look like a great dad.
Yeah,
really lucky to have you. And I wanted to comment about how much I'm a fan of everything you've done outside the cage as well. It's really, you're a legend.
Well, I'm proud to say I'm grateful for the career I had because it gave me the platform. And I'm not going to lie, I would love to have the spotlight again because I'm still competitive. I'm not done yet. I'm going to do something. I'm not doing this working out for nothing. I think I still ragged out quite a few people, but we'll see what I compete in. I did a wheelchair boxing match over in Thailand about a year ago. The only competition I've had in 12 years. And oh my God, holy shit. It was supposed to be real, but also fun. But I did everything I could not to kill this guy, man. But I hit him pretty hard. The wheelchair broke, and I just had hip replacement. I had 6 hip replacements in 1 year. The last one was about a year ago. The 6th one was a year ago now. But for a whole year, it just kept getting infected every month or so. They had to start over, go in, cut me open, take it out. Brutal. But I never once complained. You know what I mean? Well, my daughters will say that's a lie, Dad. I complained a lot, they said, but when I couldn't pee, I couldn't urinate for a whole month after the first one. Now, that top, I mean, that's just saying a lot, but that month, that not being able to urinate was the most painful, brutal month of my entire life, man, by far. And I refused to go back to the hospital because I was afraid of the damn catheter. But finally, it went away after a month, and now I appreciate every piss I have, baby. It's an amazing feeling. But the 5th one, after the 5th one, I had the 5th hip operation, and then all of a sudden, I was probably walking on it when I shouldn't have, but I broke my femur. So after the 5th one, I broke my femur, and I thought the infection was back. The infection was back, but when they looked at the infection, they also told me I broke.
Oh, I think he's back.
Yeah, my phone did die. But yeah, man, I'll talk all night, so we better wrap it up.
Can I share one thing?
Yeah, I got time. I'll let you guys talk. Sorry.
Mark,
No.
I'm a lifelong martial artist. Like I said, I didn't wrestle in high school. I was doing kung fu, unfortunately. So even if we were in the same weight class, you would have been a nightmare opponent if he was coach. Hey,
All right. Sorry
the
about
GOAT,
that.
the legend.
No, sir. Not the GOAT. I was a journeyman.
Is this
I wouldn't
on
know
both
that.
screens?
Yeah, yep. I
Oh,
got
so
him
okay.
up. That, yeah.
So I wanted to share this. King Mark. I don't know what I would call you when I walk in the gym. If you want me to call you King Mark, I will.
Well, most people call me Coleman. When I got
King
called
Coleman.
most,
That rolls off the tongue.
just Coleman. Nobody ever called me Mark.
Okay.
Okay.
I might get away with King Coleman.
Whatever you want, brother.
When I ask you for mercy on the mats.
No mercy.
I had a a guy. I went to the open mat, and his coach came over to him and was like, "Don't hurt him," because he was a heavyweight. But I wanted to share this with you because I'm also appreciative from not just as a fan but also as a martial artist, and in the UFC, you have to give credit to the Gracies for bring grappling to the martial arts, where martial arts was all karate and kung fu at that time in the United States. So this is my MMA Mount Rushmore, and I gave Sakuraba the next slot because he represents Japanese MMA to me, and it's personal.
All right.
Yes, the MMA. So this is specifically an MMA Mount Rushmore, not UFC Mount Rushmore. Obviously, Sakuraba was a UFC fighter, but he's known more, I would say, more from being Japanese. But like I said, it's controversial because
that fight he had for the UFC was badass. I think. Remember?
Okay, so my next head on MMA Mount Rushmore is very controversial, but I think that when you think of Royce Gracie and Ken Sakuraba, you're already thinking of MMA as a sport because it's not blood sport, it's not cockfighting. Whereas when Gracie came around, it was getting labeled as such. But now you have Sakuraba representing Japan, which is MMA. It's not street fighting over there. They have it held in a very high regard for the martial arts. So now we're talking about MMA as a sport, right? Okay, so MMA as a sport means you're talking about athletes. But now to go to the next level, we're making a big jump here. So you have MMA as human cockfighting, allegedly. Not that I agree with that, but like martial arts.
NHP days.
So it's like real mixed martial arts, but different martial arts. Now you have MMA as one, all martial arts together. That's Sakuraba. So now you have the next aspect of current MMA has to do with.
Here we go. Hang on.
Now MMA has a new aspect to it, which is not just the fighting, it's the promoting. And that's why it's controversial, I know, but I put McGregor on MMA Mount Rushmore. And now, to reveal the final and greatest Mount Rushmore from the United States of America, the greatest MMA ground and pounder of all time, the Hammer, Mark Coleman.
Yeah, baby. Handsome.
Woo! They had to change the rules because of you.
So handsome.
They had to change the rules because of you. You literally changed MMA. That's why you're on MMA Mount Rushmore. Rightfully so.
That's pretty cool, man.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that chat with Mark Coleman. I mean, the guy is an absolute legend and pioneer of the sport. He's been around forever, you know, as far as MMA goes. He was there, you know, in the early years. And out of all I've done a few of these now, and I've had some really great guests on, like people that I've been fans of since I was a kid. But, you know, as far as this is probably the most enjoyable podcast I've done so far, because it just, like, the conversation was really real. Like, I mean, like some of them are great, but it's just an interview. But this felt like a really, you know, we got to dig deep a little bit and we got to have a real conversation. And then also having, you know, Luke Cummo, you know, another guy that I watched as, you know, a very young man, as a co-host, joining me with it. You know, I could tell he really enjoyed the conversation and meant a lot to him as well. So overall, like, it was great. You know, I hope other people check it out and enjoy it as much as I did. But, you know, if not, you know, even if no one ever watches it, that conversation meant a lot to me. So, and that's what this is all about, right? It's about, you know, the experiences. And like, he really dug deep there. Like, he really talked about things that really meant a lot to him. So, you know, it really showed a lot of courage from him to like expose himself emotionally the way he did. You know, the man's a legend, and you know, in and out of the cage, you know, ran into a burning building, saved his family out of a burning building. You know, his battles with addiction, and then helping other people beat their addictions. Like, he's he's a real man. Like, that's the way, you know, a man can be flawed, but he's always trying to do better. So it was a great chat, meant a lot to me, and I hope you guys check it out.